we will continue for the great ending of this conference. So for this Roundtable 2, which is titled Successful Experiences in Different Educational Environments, we will have as chair Stine, who is a psychologist specializing in online youth culture. She works as counselor, consultant, educator, and supervisor, both in classrooms, among professionals, and as project leader. Stine focuses on identity formation and takes special interest in the possibilities and pitfalls of anonymity and self-staging online. In her work at the Center for Digital Youth Care, Stine investigates digital environments and online communities. As such, she has extensive knowledge and experience with many aspects of online youth culture, from extreme communities to creating a specific online persona. Stine is dedicated to bridging the generational gap between youth, for whom being online is a natural part of everyday life, and adults, for whom digital life is seen as something separate from life in the real world. So I give the floor to you, Stine, and then you can introduce the rest of the roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you, Guillermo. I'll just step over here because then I think you can see me on the screen as well. So like Guillermo just said, I'll be chairing this roundtable, and the topic is successful experiences in different educational environments. Each speaker will have approximately 10 minutes, and I will let the speakers know when there's about 2 minutes left. And then we have a joint Q&A at the end, which is about half an hour. So first up we have, and I like to apologize in advance because I'm probably going to butcher everyone's names, but I'll try my very best to pronounce them correctly. First we have Blanca Febré, who is a secondary teacher and uses a dialogic model of violence prevention and resolution. Blanca has a degree in Anglo-Germanic philology. She has completed a master's degree in applied research on feminism, gender, and citizenship. She works as a secondary school teacher in a school where she implements various successful educational actions, such as interactive groups and dialogical literary gatherings, family training, and the dialogical model of conflict prevention. She has been a member of the seminar on the Shoulders of Giants in Valencia since 2012. She is part of the network of trainers at the learning communities and successful educational actions of the Valencian community. She has collaborated from this network as a speaker for the training of teachers and the educational community in general, and has participated as a speaker in some European projects and some national and international congresses, as for example CISFEM, SIME, and LETSI. She is a member of the women's group Chrystalla, Dialoguing Feminism in Valencia. Blanca, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning to everybody. I'm very pleased to be here, and I would like to thank CREA, Community Research on Excellence for All, and congratulate all the responsibles for this fantastic and necessary project. And now I will explain briefly this successful educational action that is the Dialogic model of violence prevention and resolution. I will begin my presentation by explaining the goal that we set ourselves when we started in 2015. Secondly, I will explain the 4 keys that are essential to implement it. And finally, I will present some of the results that we have achieved. Our main goal is something that is very simple, but which no school is now in a position to guarantee. That is to guarantee that our school is a school with zero violence, where pupils go to school with the only intention of learning as much as possible and find egalitarian and exciting relationships that, if they want them to, will make them more confident and happier. Which are the keys to follow when implementing the Dialogic model? There are 4 keys which are essential if we want to have success. First of all, it is essential that we implement successful educational actions such as interactive groups or literary gatherings, family training, participation of the community or tutor library. The more successful educational actions that we implement, the better results that we achieved. It is also very important to open spaces for dialogue with the whole community for the prevention of violence. The more, the better. So the aim is that everybody adopt a position completely against every type of violence. The whole process should be carried out with a consensus criteria supported by the international scientific community, such as bystander intervention, fostering friendship, that is very important, working with the importance of attraction and election, and also protect the victims and those who protect the victims, that is, to fight against isolating violence. The whole process is carried out in a democratic way, based on consensus, and the most important is the process. As I told you before, the implementation of successful educational actions is essential because one of the characteristics that these actions have is that they improve learning at a great extent, but they also improve coexistence. When we do interactive groups, we do not only learn maths or biology or language, we also learn solidarity, we learn how to be attentive to other people's necessities and improvements. With the Dialogic literary gatherings, we do not only learn literature or oral expression, we also learn to listen and appreciate and respect other people's opinion or ways of living and thinking. And all these actions often lead us to put the attraction on these non-violent students, those students who are the best people and who have the best values. We know that in all this process, it's essential the participation of the community because we all must be upstanders. And when we open these spaces for dialogue, interactions go in the same direction. So the teacher, if the teacher says something like, if there is an aggression, you have to do something, and then the family have the same argument, and they go to the canteen with their friends, they listen to the same, or in extracurricular activities, obviously the impact that we have on students is very important, it's very high. And well, and with this, we get that all interactions go all the time in the same direction. The third key is about the criteria by which we should be guided when implementing the Dialogic model. I've been talking about some of them. As we know, bystander intervention is essential if we want to stop aggressions. So when aggressors don't have social support, they are rejected, so they stop doing it. As we know, one of the most important problems that we have to face is the attraction towards those who are violent. It is very important at the school to give this attractiveness to those who reject violence, those students who have fantastic values. And we do it creating interactions of quality that help us to create this environment in which the attraction is for those students who are the students with the best egalitarian attitudes. We also try to foster friendship and love and those values which protect us from violence. Moreover, we insist in the importance of election and also attraction. We have to try to choose egalitarian people who treat everybody well, and this is the key if we don't want to suffer from violence. And finally, about the fourth key, in 2015, we started a dialogue with the whole educational community to choose our rule. Our rule is be brave, treat me well, and help me. Since then, we have been working to ensure that this rule is followed by the entire educational community. And it is not just a matter of agreeing on a single rule, but we try to ensure that all decisions taken in class or in assemblies, or assemblies of delegates or mixed committees are agreed by consensus through dialogue. And following all these keys, we have achieved very good results. Last year, we carried out a survey to measure the satisfaction of the educational community. And here we have we have the results, and 85.9% of the people surveyed think that coexistence at the school is good or is very good. We have seen many learnings and many transformations throughout this process, as some of the quotations show. For example, this student says, it has helped me to see when in serious programs or films, there is some kind of comment that I didn't analyze before, and now I do. I analyze everything. So he has acquired a critical capacity, or it has changed my life in the sense that there are certain things that I didn't think were bad for me, and I have realized that they are because there was a previous normalization of violence. This about the bystander intervention, the students says, we can keep quiet about this. This student is harassing this one on a Snapchat, and she doesn't want to tell you anything. But this one is going too far. Look what it says. They show me a bunch of violent messages and people who commented of them laughing. And I said, thank you, you've been the best of friends. Now we can help her. Thank you for your bravery. Because we know that denouncing is essential. And here we can also see a transformation of the prejudices. This student has always been my best friend. We grew up together and were always together. Some time ago, I began to suspect that he liked boys, and for a while, I moved away from him. After the dialogues we have had, we are very good friends again, no matter who he likes. The important thing is that he has always treated me well, and that's why I want him to be my friend. Here we can see a violence rejection, and we can see the importance of election. When reading the picture of Dorian Gray in the gathering, a student says, in my opinion, Dorian Gray is a cover. He's an abuser. He mistreats Basil. He knows that Basil is in love with him and makes him suffer. He even kills him in the end. He doesn't value him because he's gay. He also mistreats Sybil. He makes her suffer so much that in the end she commits suicide. I think that it is very important to know how to recognize these masculinities, otherwise they can ruin your life. And well, due to time limitations, I have only been able to give a few keys of this successful educational action. Yes, I finished. But there is an enormous number of articles and resources supported by the international scientific community on this successful action and all the others. So here you have some references for all those who want to go deeper. And thank you very much for your attention.
All right, thank you, Blanca. Next up, we have, again, sorry for probably butchering your names, we have Jamie Groeneveld and Daphne Heimering from the Gay Straight Alliances network in Netherlands. Jamie Groeneveld and Daphne Heimering are both working in the Youth and Education Department of the COC Netherlands. COC Netherlands is the oldest still remaining LGBTQI+ advocacy organization. of the Netherlands and worldwide. COC Netherlands has multiple projects within their youth and education department, but both Jamie and Daphne focus mainly on the GSA, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance network. The Gender and Sexuality Alliance is a student-run organization in high schools that unite LGBTQI+ and allied youth to build community and organize around issues impacting them in their schools. Jamie and Daphne, the floor is yours. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. And thank you for the invitation as well. We're going to talk about our work, what we do actually every day. So yeah, we're excited to do that for you. Let's see. Okay. First of all, we wanted to have a little bit of an introduction as well. My name is Jamie Groeneveld, project assistant, just as Stine mentioned already, and we work for the youth and education team from COC Nederland.
Hello, I'm Daphne, and I also work as a project leader for COC Netherlands in the youth and education team for almost 6 years now. Closer? Okay.
Okay, so first a little introduction about COC Nederland, what we do. COC Nederland is still operating. That's the most important part. LGBTIQ+ organization. We support the community through the national and international level. We work to make its voice heard, to get organized and bring about change. We work towards a world where everyone can live up to their potential, so regardless of basically their sexual orientation, the gender identity, gender expression, and sex characteristics. And we have a federation of 20 local associations, and we consist of our main offices in Amsterdam, and we have 37 people working there. And we have also lots of volunteers working as well throughout the whole country. Then the GSA. The GSA, the former name was Gay Straight Alliances, but since 2018, if I correct, it's now Gender and Sexuality Alliance to be more inclusive as well. It's a student-run organization, as it's on the PowerPoint, in high schools, especially in the Dutch context, and it could unite LGBTIQ+ and allied youth. So also there is also a little bit of the Upstander intervention as well, because also people who are not part of the community also connect with the GSA and combine. They are trying to get some movement going in their schools. It's an inside-out initiative. We will talk about it in the next slide. It's also a student initiative, but also with some help from some teachers. And so, as I said before, it's LGBTI+ students, but as well also cis straight students as well.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something about the inside-out principle. We do this in all our work in COC the Netherlands. Mostly people work with a top-down principle, and that means that first something is going to the director, then it's going to managers, and then it's going to staff members. But we do it like the other way around. So first it starts with students. They are intrinsically motivated. They see our campaigns through social media, or they hear from friends or older siblings at schools. And they are getting interested to do something with the GSA or to do activism work for LGBT people. So they look around, they find our experts, then they go to our website, and that's where they order stuff. It's all free. And the delivery to their schools is also free. There are a bunch of materials inside it, and also posters for campaigns, but also a manifest that it can sign, and information for the parents and for school leaders. And it's always difficult to start something when you're like 15 or 16 at your school. So they mostly ask a teacher to join the GSA, and the teacher will help them fix the campaigns so they have a day off when it's Purple Friday, or when they have to arrange stuff. And they also help to gain financial, like a financial budget, so they can do projects. So that's a little bit about the inside out work we do. And GSA is consisting of 4 pillars. We do action, information, support, and evaluation. Action, we have like different issue days. We have like a calendar. We made them for schools because a lot of schools are like, what can we do besides Purple Friday? And we show them it's a lot they can do. Because we don't want the school to only focus on one day a year for activism or LGBT, sharing the information about it. So that's why we have like weekly campaigns going on for them if they want to. But Purple Friday is our biggest. It's our biggest campaign, and most of the GSAs they do Purple Friday. The other thing GSAs are doing is sharing information about LGBT issues, but also about what it is like being an LGBT person, what kind of things you, where you're dealing with, how to help other people, but also what is intersex, for example, and what is asexuality and stuff like that. And we have material for them. Like a manual where everything is written with descriptions and everything, but also a PowerPoint presentation so they can do it themselves. And the information, we have like volunteers who do like a sex education at schools, so they can always ask them to help spread information in the classroom. And we have a film about SOGIESC, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and sexual characteristics. And it's really easy film. They can play it on YouTube in the classroom, and there's a little story and 9 people who are telling about their experience like being LGBT and what it's meant to them, and that gender is a social construct and that it is fluent. So it's really nice and easy to learn. The other pillar is support. A safe space for students and teachers also is really important. So they do that by coming together in the classroom, but also like creating a safe space online in WhatsApp, through Instagram, email, and we also have Young and Out. Young and Out is a community. It's at the local chapters at CUC, and it's also an app where young people can chat. It's from 12 or 11 till 18, so it's really for the young people, and they can chat with each other, and it's really a low way to have a coming in and a coming out. And we also have evaluation, and that's the GSA onderwijsstandaard. It's a tool, a website where GSAs can evaluate how schools are coping with creating a safe space for them. And it's supported by the Dutch ministry. So we're really happy that the Dutch ministry is helping us.
Then we will talk about Paarse Vrijdag or Purple Friday. It's actually kind of similar to what was mentioned before, but then in a Dutch context, how we do it. It's already also quite some time that we do it now, I think 12 years, yeah. It's the most successful campaign of the GSA, and it's also the one that is mostly celebrated throughout the Netherlands in like 80% of the schools, I would say. It is a day to get into action for everyone to wear purple. And when wearing purple, you show your support to the community, but also just for gender and sexual diversity. We are the main provider for the campaign material for online and so as well as offline material. And so we have like a whole Instagram campaign, and then that's the online aspect, and the offline is just they order a package and then they can get all the material like to share stuff in the high schools. So a couple of examples of how they organize themselves. They organize a bake sale to have like baked goods that they sell for like a charity, or for like the all purple goods actually, or like little cupcakes. They have like a runway that they have in their school, basically in their main place that they have in the high school, in the canteen. Watching LGBTI plus movies, raising awareness by raising a flag, as you can see on the picture, and also trying to cover the LGBTI topics in different courses as well. We have a little video. I will check if it will work. It's kind of more of an impression of how it's going. It's in Dutch actually, but it's just to have a context. And
okay, that was a short impression about Purple Friday. We have like 1,000 GSAs in the Netherlands, and there are a lot more students who are participating in Paarse Vrijdag, in the campaign day. So we're really proud of the GSAs and the students who are joining Purple Friday and making their schools a safe place. And also really glad that teachers and other staff members of schools are making it really an important task of their day to help support LGBT students. So we want to thank them. I want to thank Julie. I want to thank you for everything. And if you have questions, you can always send us an email or send us a DM on Instagram. And we are happy to share more of our work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie and Daphne. Next up, we have Xavier Florensa. He has a degree in geography and a postgraduate in local government from the University of Barcelona, and a master's degree in city management by the Open University of Catalonia. Between 2003 and 2011, he was a member of the Barcelona City Hall, where he was responsible for the youth department and member of the council of the metropolitan area of Barcelona. He was also delegate of the area of commerce of the, Deputatio de Barcelona. Xavier is an activist for the rights of LGBTI people. Between 2012 and 2020, he was coordinator of the LGBTI policies of Esquerra Republicana de Catalunya, and since 2021, he is Director General of the LGBTI plus policies of the Generalitat de Catalunya. Xavier, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today in this roundtable in Brussels at this final conference of the Up4Diversity project, and I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to take part in it. Furthermore, I am also delighted to be here on behalf of the Catalan government's Ministry of Equality and Feminisms. This ministry was set up just a year ago to drive the country's equality policies forward, and for the first time, it also has a specific Directorate General of LGBTI plus public policies to enhance its cross-cutting approach in areas such as education. To put the current situation in Catalonia into context, briefly, I think it's essential to point out that almost 8 years ago, our parliament passed the act or law to safeguard the rights of LGBT people and against homophobia, lesbophobia, and transphobia. This groundbreaking law met a historical demand of Catalan LGBT plus community, and rolling it out has enabled us to join up all the Catalan government's LGBTI plus public policies. Our Equal Treatment and Non-Discrimination Act also has been passed recently, and it allows us to intervene against any type of discrimination, LGBT phobia, racism, ageism, ableism, and anti-gypsyism, in a highly intersectional approach, since everyone may experience different types of discrimination. The first of this law, the Act to Safeguard the Rights of LGBT people and against homophobia, lesbophobia, and transphobia, has enabled us to put in place a number of action strands which are directly related to the educational setting. Firstly, the Act made it possible to process reports, complaints about discrimination, which, although not a criminal offense, may end up in administrative penalties being imposed of the offenders or mediations or reparations measures. Secondly, the Act also includes what it calls a duty of intervene, which means that any public employee, such a teacher, who becomes aware of a risk of situation or has a well-founded suspicion of discrimination or violence on grounds of sexual orientation or gender identity, has to report it to the authorities. This article in the Act has enabled us to train almost 30,000 Catalan public sector employees over the past 7 years, including in the educational community, teachers, school management, teams, supervisors, families, etc. Thirdly, the rollout of the Act has made it possible to set up a robust network of specific services of LGBTI people, the Integrated LGBT Care Service, or SEIS in their Catalan initials, which has been built in partnership with local councils and county councils. The SEIS operate more than 100 services throughout Catalonia, and we are committed to ensuring all LGBT people have access to specific services wherever they live in the country, whether in urban areas or in rural or less populated areas. They also attend to LGBT people to address any problems or instances of discrimination and help to implement LGBT public policies in the town or country concerned. SAI services are in cities or towns greater than 20,000 inhabitants, in the counties, and also in 4 public Catalan universities that have integrated their equality services or offices into our network. And I have explained another of the objectives of SAI is the development of local LGBT public policies. Over the last 5 years, SAIs have played a crucial role as a key services for many schools when it comes to educating students about sexual and gender diversity through workshops and other activities. They have additionally been involved in processing healthcare bearing the social or the preferred name of trans people, and this has allowed us to identify almost 700 trans children in Catalonia who are studying in our schools. And finally, the SAIs have also helped to improve the application of protocols and circuits, such as the protocol for dealing with school bullying of LGBTI people and the protocol for care and support of transgender students in Catalan schools. They have further made it possible to process complaints in cases of bullying and support children and teenagers and their families when the situations happen. Moreover, all this work is moving forward with the new measures which the Ministry of Education is putting in place in Catalonia. Firstly, to get Co-Educate program, which seeks to help schools to specifically tackle core aspects of co-education, the gender perspective and sexuality. This means that each school has a lead person from the program, and schools are also provided with the training required for teachers and the essential criteria and materials to include this aspect of sexual and gender diversity across the board in curriculum and in educational plan of each school. The intention is therefore not for sexual and gender diversity to be dealt with in isolation through specific actions, but rather for it to be embedded in all educational content. Secondly, this is the schools free of violent plans of Ministry of Education program designed to raise the profile of hidden violence in a school, such as that generated by LGBTI phobia, identify it, and take action to protect children and teenagers. This plan has led to rollout of a specific service, the Unit for Supporting Students in Situations of Violence, or the USAF in Catalan initialism, which was set up in April 2022 to deal with situations of violence in the whole educational community and advise mentor schools. The USAF is made up for specialists in psychology, equality, teaching, law, social education, and management. Whenever a situation of bullying and violence is identified, such as LGBTI phobia, for example, a file is opened, the school inspectorate is contacted, and work begins with the school authorities to evaluate the case and put forward appropriate measures to resolve the situation. This process can last several months, and it's followed up and monitored to ensure that the situation has abated. In addition, this process also helped to review and reformulate the educational plans of schools, which in many cases didn't have mechanisms in place to manage the diversity of their students. The partnership between the SAI network and USAF is a very effective tool when it comes to identify harassment and violence against LGBTI students and addressing them jointly. Indeed, the majority of LGBTI phobia complaints and incidents that our minister registers every year are now reported through the SAI network. We are currently working together to redefine the protocols and circuit, and also to draw up a number of indicators which will provide us with greater insight into the sort of discrimination which may take place in a school, and which we also be used to round of the appraisal of these plans and improve them in the coming years. I will finish here, and I will be delighted to answer questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Javier. Next up, we have Elena Gallardo. Elena is a predoctoral researcher and professor at the University of Rovira i Virgili in Tarragona in Spain. She owns a bachelor degree in social work and a master's degree in women and gender studies. Elena is a member of different international, national, and regional projects against LGBTI+ phobia. She will be defending her doctoral dissertation next September on the study of transphobic forms of violence and discrimination in the life of trans and non-binary children, adolescents, and youth. Elena, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Stine. So can you hear me well? Yeah. So I'll be presenting here a project that aims to both have a picture of how transphobia has been happening in Spain, but also trying to find ways on how to make bystander be upstanders. And that's going to be my objective for this presentation. I'll be trying to balance these two sides of the research. Firstly, as a background, I'll use a little bit the presentation of Xavier, who talked a lot about how is the regulations in Spain regarding transphobia. As we may know, there are a lot of laws coming up, and in Spain, where up until last week, we had regional laws, really pioneers, as Xavier talked about. And as I work in Andalusia and in Catalonia, these laws are really having an impact, and we are going to see that and how it has impacted the life of trans children or not, depending on if the protocol, the educational protocols, has been activated or not. The situation of trans and non-binary children, because I want to focus in both. I want to be visible and try to make it open and not just focus on those who transition and those who try to make a binary transition. So the situation in Spain in the last year has been pretty dramatical. We have had to the point of having public demands and claims of bullying, suffering bullying for 10 years in schools, and nobody was doing anything, and that's a problem. Even coming to the point in which trans non-binary adolescent has committed suicide because they couldn't handle the violence anymore. So apart from that, and having that background, even the data says that the LGBT community are suffering violence, and even the trans and those crimes made based on gender identity and sexual orientation are in rise, and they are worsening gradually. Even looking at the data last year's from 2018, the cases of bullying are growing every year. Gradually, and those crimes, those hate crimes made on the grounds of gender identity and sexual orientation are on the top 3 of the types of hate crimes in Spain. And just to make a little bit of an update, the consequences in the well-being and health and mental health, basically, on the victims is something that we need to be accounted on. 85% of transgender and gender diverse youth have experienced bullying, which is really immense data in comparison to the general population, which is 22%, and to LGBT youth, which is 55% of who suffer bullying. And then even transgender and gender diverse are in an increased bullying in comparison to other minority youth, which is something that we need to be accounted for, as well as non-binary trans youth are even more vulnerable to suffering bullying due to the lack of knowledge of what it means to be non-binary and all the needs that comes with that identity. The study that I'm talking about which is my PhD, aimed to improve the life, well-being and education of trans and non-binary children and youth, and trying, as I said before, balancing and both looking at the picture of what transphobia means in educational settings, and on the other hand, trying to see how children and all the environment are reacting to it and seeing if it's been successful or not. And in that, I have implemented and followed the communicative methodology that Oriol already spoke about, which aimed to have social impact, not only political impact, but also social impact, basically transforming the life and improving the life of those subjects, using dialogical spaces between researchers and social agents, focusing on violence prevention and not only intervention, and then targeting structural forms of violence, which is the key of this methodology. And I followed a qualitative and ethnographic approach. I've been following up different cases and families from 2015 to 2021, which is what I ended up my fieldwork. And I have used other research instruments apart from interviews, just to make it clear for you, because you will see not only discourses, but also drawings from the research participants. I've used interviews, writings, body maps, lines of life, emotional maps, etc. All of it to make me possible understand what it means in the body experience, in emotional experience to be trans in educational settings. I've had 13 trans and non-binary children, adolescents, and youth. I have also talked and interviewed 5 health and education professionals, and I have also talked to 9 relatives, partners, or friends of those participating in the research. And the results have basically showed that there are 3 different parts in the types of violence that they are suffering. On the one hand, there are stressful or harmful spaces in the schools, basically those who are unattended by educators or adults supervising it. Also, they pointed at how trans and non-binary children are basically suffering from negligence mostly, but also abusive actions by teacher. And thirdly, how they experience violence, which is exerted by peers. And then on the other hand, in the ways of navigating and facing this violence, I have found how supportive family contexts are very important and really make a change in their lives. And then how friendships and alliances with teachers and peers are also pretty transformative. And I'll just show you a little bit, because I don't know how good I am with my time. Okay, perfect. So I'll just stop a little bit here. So I've seen how vulnerable spaces are really important, how they really make a change on how they experience the school and how they experience also the relations with the others. And here we can see one of the drawings where they are basically pointing here on the top how bathrooms and changing rooms are really like vulnerable for them because they feel really exposed to the others. And in the dialogue with Ruben, which is one of the transgender subjects, I was asking, was there any place where you felt uncomfortable? And he said, in the locker rooms and changing rooms at high school, when I had to change clothes, I would always go into the bathroom, I'd go into the changing rooms and hide in the private bathrooms. So he felt he actually needed to like hide himself, go before everyone, stay there, and then leave after everyone who had changed to be able to avoid any kind of conversation or exposition with their peers. That's just one of the examples of it. As well, I have also seen how violence by peers is something that is massively lived in explicit but also implicit forms. And here I brought one of the examples which points at one of the most important processes of trans and non-binary children when they make a transition, which is the moment in which they present themselves with their chosen name or chosen gender, in case there is. And here, and I want to mark how important this process is, but also how the follow-up needs to be also taken into account. And here, with one of the subjects, I'll just read from the middle of it. He said, they just saw my radical change from having hair more or less around my shoulders to having it cut short, and they didn't even want me to touch them. So gradually, this person was like changing their gender expression, changing their hair, just as they felt more comfortable with it, into a more, let's say, male manner. And then they did the transition to everyone. Actually, this person did the transition themselves because the professor decided that was the best idea to it instead of using a protocol, which was already there. And then he said, and of course, I took this step and I made the gender transition the following week. A boy, oh God, I was shocked. They isolated me, picked on me, and laughed at me. It was unbelievable. So how important it is not only to make gender transitions, but see it not as the magical cure of the situation, but also to see it as a critical moment in which violence can even grow afterwards. And then lastly, I want to make sure I show this part of the research, how the role of bystanders has been life-changing for most of them, how they can really change their view of the school by having allies and having a supportive environment. And here with Andrea, one of them, she was talking about the violence and bullying she was suffering, and how she made clear to me that all the bullying she was suffering was from people who didn't know her, because in the moment they knew her, they appreciated her. And she said, because they were the ones who knew me at least, because everybody who had known me has always ended up liking me. And I think they have ended up understanding me. And also here in the picture, I just want to share here on the right side of the drawing. This person was a trans boy participating in the research, and he was really isolated. He had only one ally for 1 year, and he drew in the right side the bathroom in which he could hide with the ally inside during the whole break. Every day they were just hiding inside of the bathroom because they couldn't tolerate and face the rest of it. And here they are kind of projecting an image outside, because from one of the holes of the doors they could see reflected in the wall the rest of the classroom and everyone outside, and they could envision themselves outside being free and being safe. And just by last, I just wanted to show also another case in which they make sure how important is the need for building inclusive and acceptance values in the school atmosphere, which is something key for gender equality. And here in the drawing, it says literally, you will never be alone. And this person basically drew himself the first time that two teachers, which were new in the school, decided to say, okay, I'm with you, I see you, and I understand you. And they said, out of all of the teachers in the school, they were the only ones who approached me. And then at the end, quoting, they were more watchful and the number of incidents went down. Basically, it really changed not only himself and his view of the school, but also the incidents of violence. And just by last, I think the focus needs to be shifted towards not only victims, but also the whole environment, putting the focus on family, education professionals, and peers, which is key to make bystanders be active upstanders. Thank you so much, and I'll be happy to deep in any of the cases or issues. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Elena. That was 10 minutes on the spot. Quite well done. So we have our last speaker, who is Chrystalla Evangelou, who was a participant in the Cyprus National Training Workshop. Chrystalla obtained a bachelor's degree in English language and literature from the University of Cyprus in 2018. She participated in the Erasmus Plus project, where she had the valuable opportunity to work as an English language professor at a Spanish school with many other international co-workers and staff. Moreover, while working as an English language professor in Cyprus, she noticed that the majority of students with a disability are excluded from the learning process, since the current institutes and schools are not appropriately equipped to include them. Chrystalla is currently employed as an English language professor in a private school while simultaneously studying for a graduate degree in special and inclusive education at the University of Cyprus. As a teacher, she aspires to include every student in her class while respecting them and protecting them from potential exclusive environments. That was the reason why she participated in the Up4Diversity National Training Seminar. Chrystalla, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Chrystalla. I would like to thank. Hear me? Yes? All right. I would like to thank the University of Cyprus and the Up4Diversity training workshop for inviting me here to share my experience. So I was a participant at the Up4Diversity training workshop. We share a few details about the training workshop. The objective was to provide high school teachers and youth professionals with awareness about bullying against the LGBTIQ plus youth, and with the necessary skills and knowledge to respond to this violence actively and effectively. Moreover, there was a pre and post training assessment to ensure the impact of the sessions, and it lasted from February to May 2022. It took 10 hours of training, and the trainers were also participants in the Train the Trainers International Training Workshop, which took place in November 2021 in Tarragona, Spain. So here are the project objectives. I will focus on the objective number 4, 5, and 7, which were mainly achieved by the training workshop. And the objectives were to equip teachers, youth professionals, and young people with the skills to become active upstanders in the prevention of violence, to achieve social and political impact, and to share the results with the final beneficiaries and general society. So the training workshop took place in 5 countries, in Belgium, Cyprus, Denmark, Ireland, and Spain. The initial aim was to include 10 to 20 people per country. I think the organizers are very proud. They achieved the results with flying numbers. 210 people registered and approximately 100 people attended. I don't have the exact number, but that's... Here we can see some pictures from the training workshops. The one on the above left is from an afternoon dinner in Belgium. The one on the right is from Spain, if I'm not mistaken. On the bottom left is from Ireland, and on the bottom right is from Cyprus. So the content of the training were taken from the first year of the project in order to ensure the quality and the evidence-based approach. The training is mostly focused on upstander intervention, preventing socialization of gender-based violence, and we also tried during the trainings to find the root of the violence and to engage in a wider social change. There was also a part of the training that included individual work, where some participants could read an article, a scientific article alone, individually, and then they had to highlight key points. And later they had to, all of them together, discuss their opinions, what they liked, disliked together, and also try to bring their experiences with the articles. So a lot of people felt that they have confidence that the training had a scientific background, scientific evidence background, and that's because the presentations and the articles used international scientific publications. Another strong point of the training is the combination of essential teaching spaces for discussion, and most importantly for me, it was a very safe space and a healing space for all the participants to talk, to share the experience as upstanders and as victims. And we are very glad to have spaces like that because they are very rare. Here are some of the highlights of the training. I will focus on some of them, more specifically on number 6, sorry, the violence against upstanders. It was something that was discussed. It was one of the things that was discussed in our training workshops in Cyprus. They need to protect also the upstanders because they can face just as much hate and from others as the victims. Here are some data. I won't talk much about them because I wasn't the one who analyzed them. But these data show the pre and post assessments, and people felt more confident talking and intervening after the training. The impact of the training, a lot of people felt that now they can differentiate being an upstander and a bystander. What's the difference between the two? They are more confident in engaging and intervening as a group. And some others realized that they were upstanders all their life. Good for them. And they realized that there is need for more dialogues and better training. Some other data, I won't talk much about it. So, personally, I went into the training workshop with the expectation of learning skills that I can teach my students on how to becoming upstanders. And I did. But I realized along the way that I need to set an example to my students, and I also need to be an upstander. I need to be a mentor and a positive influence to my students. So if you have children or if you're educators, that's a tip that I give you. Become the example, and then you will be surprised with the results. That's all for me. I was very brief. Thank you for having me again, and I will be glad to answer any questions that you have.